everybody, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys been enjoying the content channel as of late. We're gonna try something new. Just why not? I mean, we're gonna try some new stuff here, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. We wanted to just try to be a little more lively, just be honest, like lately, it's past few weeks actually, I've been kind of not in the best place per se, but I don't know, just want to try to be a little more lively, a little more, I'm not trying to force it, it's just more like, hey, let's just try to do some new stuff, try to do some new things here and there. So I'm going to experiment with this video and see how you guys feel with it. So for today, I want to talk about something interesting, I think, revolving around specific forms of content when it comes to, filmmaking, films in general. And that's to do with original forms of content. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because we just had two films come out, and actually another film coming out this weekend, all of which are original-based films. We had Hoppers, there we go, I feel like I mispronounced that. Hoppers, which me and my brother did a review for, if you guys want to check that out. And The Bride also came out the same weekend. And both films, as far as I could tell, are underperforming. They're not good. The Bride especially, it just came out and bombed real hard. And of course, this weekend we have Project Hail Mary, which I'm planning on seeing. I don't know if I'm usually kind of wishy-washy sometimes, so I mean, I'll try to catch it, but I don't hold any promises on that. So, and that film also I don't see coming in strong either. And it's got me wondering a little bit about just the trajectory when it comes to this form of content. Now, I think that, as the titling of this video is kind of suggesting, is original movies gonna just go away, when it comes to, Hollywood and, how they operate, and, just that area within the business, is that ever just gonna go away? And I think the answer is very simple, but also kind of layered also. So the short answer is no. Obviously, with original form of content being out there, it diversifies, the lineup that a studio will have to offer. You'll have your major IPs, whether that being a sequel or a prequel or a reboot, whatever that may be. To also have an original form of content out there, it kind of diversifies and, gives the audience more to play with in terms of, viewership and, whatever they want to watch, to please their appetite. But at the same time, a lot of people don't go, we're just talking about today, the norms is today. A lot of people aren't going out to see these forms of content now. People are leaning more heavily on very specific forms of content, whether that being, IPs or horror. This year, so far, the leading force has been horror, and I think that, we'll obviously be seeing some changes in a few weeks here. We have the Super Mario Brothers movie, which is probably going to dominate. But it also, plays more to what I'm saying, where there is very specific taste going on today. And it seems leaning more towards major IPs, certain kinds of, franchises and certain appeals. And I think the market is, leaning more towards a younger demographic, because, especially when it comes to social media and trends and stuff like that, I am so detached from all that, so I don't exactly know what is trendy or what is not, but a lot of studios are looking into those demographics and seeing what they are what their interests are into. And it seems like, video games, horror, that seems to be the dominant force nowadays. Whereas things like superheroes, which used to be the reigning champs of interest when it came to the movie theater experience, that's starting to wane now, But largely, when it comes to original forms of content, as of late, it's just been not been working. And I think that the only real point nowadays for movies like this to exist, when you think of it from a Hollywood landscape, from Hollywood's point of view, is just what I brought up earlier, which is simply just diversifying the slate. It's not with the hopes of making large sums of money or seeing a wild return on investment. It's just, how do we diversify our slate so that we don't face more fatigue than we're facing now when it comes to IPs and certain kinds of genres. But if that is the mentality, right, that it calls into question the financial aspects of these decisions. Why is it that these movies are costing them hundreds of millions of dollars? Like, why is that? Like a film like Hoppers, for example, it costs like $150 million to produce. I guarantee you can do that movie for maybe half its budget, and you can, like, it was kind of the same thing I said about Goat. Or if you saw my box office recap, where that movie I think cost like $80 million. If you were to do like half of that, and seeing how much it's made so far, it would easily turn a profit given where it's at. But because of Hoppers being where it's at, and Go also being where it's at, they're struggling. Because they have higher budgets, therefore they have higher thresholds to hit. Because as I always remind you guys, the theatrical experience does not mean that all that money goes directly back to the studio. They only make about half of that, because you got to take into account ticket sales and theatrical distribution. So really, when you are looking at a number, you should be taking that production and the marketing expenses and then timesing it by 4. If the combined total of the production and marketing times that by 4, that is what the movie really needs to make in order for the company to see a return on those investments. In the case of like a film like Project Hail Mary, I've been reading like $200 million is what it costs to make. So 200 times by 4. So a film like that needs to do like $800 million. 400 million of that gross is going to go back to the theaters. So as a production, yeah, it only has to make 400 million. But in order to see 400 million go back into the studio's pocket, they have to do more than just $400 million. They have to do $800 million. And for a film like that, like Project Hail Mary is, which is an original based piece of science fiction, yeah, it's based off of a book, but by movie standards, it is basically an original film, or at least by Hollywood standard, it's an adaptation, but it's not a major IP, it's not a notable brand, it's just a fresh new film, I guess. So that doesn't have a large appeal, and also in the realm of science fiction is really hard to market and get a lot of people excited for. But yeah, it's just been kind of slimming it lately, and I feel like that's going to translate, throughout the year, and it's been happening in IPs as well. We've had stuff, I forget which films, but we've had stuff like both on small and large scale, and they have all the reasonings for it. Sometimes it's just a lack of marketing. Sometimes it's literally just a flat out rejection of, just of what it is, or sometimes it's like I'm saying, where it's like the budgets are just incredibly high and it's hard to meet any real satisfaction when it comes to financial sides of these investments. So, but will original movies ever just go away? Absolutely not. But I think that for Hollywood's point of view, I think that they're doing it more or less just to diversify their slates. That way they don't have to face more fatigue when it comes to audience numbers. And they also can use that as an excuse to say, hey, look, we do make those movies. And to their defense, I know that some people have made the comment saying that, oh, well, they make movies, but I never want to see those movies. And it's a double-edged sword, because obviously if you're not interested, then you're not interested, right? But at the same time, if you keep coming back to the pizza shop, right, and they keep making you that same slice of pepperoni pizza, right, or whatever it is that you realistically want, but it's never up to your standard, I mean, I really, at whose fault is it then? You know, who's the one really who's complaining? You know, it's like you you either can try to stomach, you know, not say stomach, but like at least give it a chance, you know. And if you don't like it, then you don't like it. But if you're just, you know, like if there comes a point where you just have to understand that's like studios are who they are, as people are. You know, people are who they are, and it's like, you know, you're not going to change anybody's minds. You know, it's just if that's the only way that you change studios' minds is with dollars. You know, and stuff like this with the Bride and Hoppers, it might incentivize them to maybe make changes, but I think that those changes might be more or less in the department of, well, people are not really interested in seeing original based movies in these sort of areas, so instead of putting all this money towards these artistic endeavors, you know, let's just put them towards more major blockbusters and to, you know, other major IPs, resurrecting more old IPs and stuff like that. It's, you know, that's the worry that I have, and I feel like that's probably the spirit over at a lot of these studios, when, especially with, you know, people like WB or hell, even Disney. You know, I just saw Disney just dated Incredibles 3 and Lilo and Stitch 2, both on the same year in 2028. So, you know, I think that that's fairly telling, you know, so, you know, as to what they are leaning more towards in the market nowadays. But I mean, look at Pixar right now with their current slate, you know, with how they're trying to do one original film each year, and then they have a sequel to go right beside it. So yeah, so, you know, I think that they'll never go away, but I think it's never going away because they know that it would lead to more fatigue, more awareness to such abundance of IPs. So it's more or less just a way to shield what it is that they're really wanting to do, and what the audience is also saying, you know, because, you know, they're voting. You vote by your dollars, they vote by your wallet, and you guys are choosing to watch the major IPs, you know. So they're gonna do more of it, and until you show them that you don't want to watch them, that's just what they're incentivized to do. So, but you guys let me know. Do you guys feel a similar way, or do you guys feel differently? Let me know. Let me know your thoughts about original-based movies. Do you guys feel that they are ever just going to go away? And I'm talking about in the Hollywood system. Obviously, on the indie front, that's just a given. You know, I'm just talking more with the big studios like WB, Disney, Paramount. You know, all these players. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And let me know how you feel about this new format of video. I'm just trying to do some new stuff here and there. So just let me know. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.